My name is Emily Harper. And I was 27 when Liam told me he wanted to just be friends. It happened on a Thursday night. The kind of ordinary night that tricks you into thinking nothing important will happen. Rain tapped against the kitchen window. The dishwasher hummed. I was standing barefoot on the cold tile, rinsing 2 coffee mugs, when Liam said, "We need to talk." I already knew. People think those 4 words are a warning. They're not. They're a verdict. Liam was 26. Soft-spoken when he wanted sympathy, and sharp when he wanted his way. We had been together for 2 years. Living together, for one, I thought we were building something solid. We had talked about a future the way couples do, when they believe time belongs to them, his cousin's wedding next summer. A bigger apartment someday. Maybe a dog. Maybe children when life felt less expensive and more forgiving. Then I turned around and saw the bag by the hallway, a navideful, half-zipped, already packed. That was the part that hurt, before he even opened his mouth. He sat at the table with both hands wrapped around a glass of water he hadn't touched. His eyes were red. But not from crying. From rehearsing. "I care about you," he said. I almost laughed, because nothing good ever follows that sentence. "But I'm not in love anymore," he continued. "I think we should shift into being friends." "Shift?" I asked. He nodded too quickly. I relieved that I had repeated the softest word in his speech. "Yeah, we get along great. We have the same friends. We like the same movies. The same restaurants. We'd be amazing friends. I just don't think we're meant to be partners." Outside, a car passed slowly through the rain, headlights sliding across the wall like a searchlight. "So you're breaking up with me," I said. "But you want me to stay in your life." His face tightened. "That sounds harsh." "It sounds accurate. Emily, please don't make this ugly. I don't want to lose you completely. I just need to figure out who I am outside of us." That was when my eyes moved back to the duffel bag. "Ryan's picking you up, isn't he?" Liam blinked. "What? You packed a bag? You didn't start this conversation because you wanted to talk. You started it because your exit plan is already waiting outside." His guilt flashed for half a second before he buried it under concern. "I knew you'd be upset. Ryan said I could crash at his place while we sort out the apartment." "Sort out the apartment," I repeated. "Yeah. No rush. We're adults. We can handle this like friends." Friends. 2 years of loving him. 1 year of sharing rent. Toothpaste. Grocery lists. Late-night fears. Family. Drama. Flumedicine. And future plans. And now he wanted to file all of it under friendship like a receipt he might need later. I looked at him for a long moment. Then I said, "Okay." His mouth parted. Really? Let's be friends." The relief that spread over his face was almost insulting. He smiled like I had just agreed to the exact arrangement he had designed in his head. He got to leave me. Keep me. And avoid feeling cruel. "Thank God," he whispered. "I was scared you'd hate me or make this messy. This is why we're perfect as friends." Perfect. That word stayed with me after he left. Ryan arrived less than an hour later. He stood in the doorway wearing a black hoodie, and that uncomfortable expression people wear around fresh heartbreak. Like grief might be contagious. He gave me a sympathetic look. Half apology. Half pity. I waved. Liam hugged me before he left. I let him. But I didn't hug back the way I used to. I didn't press my face into his shoulder. I didn't memorize his warmth. I didn't beg. When the door closed behind him, The apartment became painfully quiet. His mug was still on the table. His chair was slightly pulled out. His key was still on the ring in his pocket. And his absence somehow took up more space than he had. I cried that night. I won't pretend I didn't. I sat on the bathroom floor, with my knees against my chest, and cried until my throat burned. But beneath the hurt, something colder settled into place. He wanted friendship. Fine. I knew how to be a friend. The first text came at 7:00 the next morning. Liam, hey. Hope you're okay. Can you drop off my work tablet? Forgot it in the rush. Mesur. I'll leave it at your office front desk, Monday. Liam, Monday. Can't you bring it to Ryan's? I need it this weekend. Me, Monday works better for me. Liam, you have plans. Me, friend stuff. There was a long pause before he answered. Liam. Okay. Weird. But okay. It was the first crack. Saturday morning brought the second. Liam, Ryan and I are checking out that new cafe. Want to come? I stared at the message while coffee brewed beside me. Saturday, coffee had been our thing. We would walk 6 blocks to the corner cafe, split a cinnamon roll, and argue over which strangers were on first dates. But that was when he was my boyfriend. Me thanks. But I'm good. Enjoy. Liam. Come on. We always do Saturday coffee. Me. That was when we were dating. Liam. So now we just stop doing everything. Me no. We just stop acting like a couple. 2 hours later, another message appeared. Liam. This feels really cold. Me, I'm being friendly. Liam, no. You're being distant. Me, I'm treating you exactly like a friend. He didn't reply. That became the pattern. Liam had said friends. But what he meant was, keep answering immediately. Keep being emotionally available. Keep saving his things. Managing his chaos. Remembering his appointments. Sharing. Streaming. Passwords. Laughing at his jokes. Making him feel wanted. He wanted the relationship without the responsibility. I heard friends and built a fence. By Tuesday. He crossed it. I came home from work and knew immediately someone had been inside. The air smelled like his shampoo. A towel was damp on the bathroom hook. A half-empty bag of chips sat on the counter. The washer had finished a load of clothes that were not mine. On the coffee table was a note, grabbed some stuff. Hope that's fine. L. Hope that's fine. I stood there holding the paper, feeling something hotter than sadness rise in my chest. I texted him, me saw you stopped by. I'll need the key back soon. His reply came instantly. Liam, what, why? Me. My friends don't have keys to my apartment. Liam, I still have stuff there. Me. We can schedule times for you to pick things up. Liam. This is absurd. We live together. Me, we used to live together. Liam, Emily. Me, different dynamic. Different rules. That evening, he showed up furious. He knocked like the door had personally betrayed him. When I opened it, he stood there with wet hair, clenched jaw, and the wounded expression of someone who had expected me to collapse neatly into the role he assigned me. You're really doing this, he asked. Doing what? Locking me out of my own home. It's not your home anymore. I lived here for a year. And then you packed a bag before breaking up with me. His face flickered. That's not fair. No, I said quietly. What wasn't fair was pretending this was a mutual transition when you had already arranged your landing. He looked past me into the apartment. I need more of my things. I packed a box of essentials. I reached beside the door and lifted it. Clothes. Charger. Work badge. Gym shoes. He stared at the box like I had slapped him. I can't believe you're being this childish. Childish would be screaming, I'm setting boundaries. You're acting like I'm some random guy. I tilted my head. You said we're friends. I'm not just any friend. According to you. I said, that's exactly what you are now. For the first time, he had no answer. And that was when I understood something important. Liam hadn't wanted friendship. Not really. He wanted a softer word for ownership. A way to leave without losing access. A way to hurt me and still be comforted by me. But friendship has rules too. He just never expected me to follow them. The entitlement started showing itself in ways that would have been funny if they weren't so exhausting. 3 days after the key argument, I received a notification from my streaming account. Someone was trying to log in. Liam. I stared at the screen and laughed softly. Not because it was amusing, because it was predictable. A few minutes later, my phone buzzed. Liam, did you change the Hulu password? May, yes. Liam, why? Me, because it's my account. Liam, I've been using it for a year. Me, you were my boyfriend for a year. Liam, seriously. Me, seriously. Then came Amazon. Then the shared grocery app. Then the emergency contact information at my doctor's office. Every little connection we had built together suddenly became a battle, because Liam assumed he would keep all the benefits while abandoning the commitment that created them. I removed his access from everything, not out of revenge, out of consistency. Friends don't share every password. Friends don't remain emergency contacts. Friends don't expect unlimited access to each other's lives. Apparently, that lesson was harder for Liam than the breakup itself. The real test came that weekend. Our friend group hosted a board game night at Max's townhouse. For years, Liam and I had attended together. This time, I arrived alone. The moment I walked through the door, conversation slowed for half a second. Everyone knew. Breakups travel faster than gossip, especially when they're fresh. Max greeted me first. You okay? Better than expected. He studied me. You actually look good. I smiled. That's because I got 8 uninterrupted hours of sleep. He laughed. Across the room, several friends relaxed. They had expected drama. I wasn't interested in giving them any. About 20 minutes later, the front door opened. Liam walked in, and beside him was a woman, tall, blonde, athletic, definitely attractive, definitely chosen for maximum visibility. Ladies and gentlemen, Max muttered under his breath. And here comes the plot twist. I nearly laughed. The woman stayed close to Liam as they entered, close enough to send a message, not close enough to suggest anything real. Liam's eyes immediately found me. Waiting, watching, measuring. I knew exactly what he wanted. Jealousy, pain, regret, proof that I still belonged to him somehow. Instead, I smiled politely. Liam cleared his throat. Everyone. This is Natalie. The woman offered a friendly wave. They met at my gym. Of course they did. I stepped forward. Nice to meet you. Natalie. She looked surprised. Nice to meet you too. We shook hands. No tension. No hostility. No tears. Just basic politeness. The expression on Liam's face almost made me feel sorry for him. Almost. For the next 2 hours, I focused entirely on the games. We played Settlers of Catan, then Ticket to Ride, then a ridiculously competitive round of code names. I laughed, made jokes, enjoyed myself. Meanwhile, Liam kept glancing toward me every few minutes. Every single time, he found me completely unaffected. By midnight, frustration was practically radiating off him. Halfway through cleanup, he cornered me in the kitchen. The moment I saw him approaching, I knew what was coming. You seem happy? He said. I am. Really? Shouldn't I be? His jaw tightened. I show up with another woman, and you don't care. There it was. The The confession, hidden inside the accusation. I folded a dish towel. Why would I care? His eyes widened. Seriously? We're friends. Liam. You don't even feel a little jealous. I considered the question, then answered honestly. Are you jealous when your friends date people? His expression froze. That's different. How? He opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. Nothing came out. Because the truth would expose everything. If he admitted it was different, he'd have to admit he still expected boyfriend privileges. Privileges he willingly gave up. I walked past him, conversation over. Behind me, I heard him exhale sharply. The rest of the evening passed quietly. Until Ryan joined me on the back patio. Ryan had always been Liam's closest friend. 30 years old. Dark hair. Easy smile. The kind of man who listened more than he spoke. Over the years, we'd gotten along well. But I'd always seen him as Liam's friend. Nothing more. Now things felt slightly different. Not romantic. Just different. More direct. More personnel. He handed me a soda. You handled tonight well. I smiled. Meaning Liam expected fireworks. He shouldn't have. Ryan nodded. I told him that. That surprised me. You did? Several times. I studied him. The porch light cast soft shadows across his face. For a moment, he looked uncomfortable. Then he sighed. Emily. Can I be honest? Always. He thought you'd chase him. I laughed once. A short, humorless sound. Of course he did. He genuinely believed you'd wait around while he figured things out. The words landed harder than I expected. Because deep down, I already knew they were true. Ryan continued. He keeps saying you changed. I didn't. No. Ryan agreed. You didn't. His eyes met mine. You just stopped giving him access to things he no longer earned. For some reason, that sentence stayed with me. The rest of the night blurred together. Friends talking. Games ending. People leaving. But Ryan's words lingered. You stopped giving him access. Not affection. Not kindness. Access. The distinction mattered. The next morning I received another text. Liam. Of course. Liam. What was that with you and Ryan last night? I stared at the screen. Then laughed. Again. Because the irony was incredible. Me. We talked. Liam. It looked like more than talking. Me friends talk. Several minutes passed. Liam. He's my best friend. Me. And you're my friend. Liam. That's not the point. Me then, what is? No response. 3 days later, another message arrived. Liam, I think we should talk. Me, about what? Liam. About us. Me. There is no us. A typing bubble appeared. Disappeared. Returned. Finally. Liam. Can we meet for dinner? The request made me pause. Not because I wanted to say yes, because I finally understood what was happening. The boundaries were working. The safety net was disappearing. And Liam could feel himself falling. May Busey. Liam tomorrow. May Busey. Liam. Saturday. Me coffee at noon. Like a friend. Nothing more. Several minutes later. Liam, fine. Then. Liam. Who are you busy with? I smiled. There it was again. Ownership disguised as curiosity. Me. Does it matter? Liam, I'm asking. Me friends don't track each other's schedules. No response. Saturday arrived. The coffee meeting lasted 23 minutes. Yes. I counted. Liam looked tired. More tired than he had during the breakup. His confidence seemed smaller somehow. Less polished. Less certain. We sat across from each other in a crowded cafe. Neither of us touched our drinks. Finally, he spoke. I think I made mistakes. I waited. I thought this would be easier. For who? His eyes flickered. That answer told me everything. For him, Not for us. For him. I didn't expect you to disappear. I nearly laughed. I didn't disappear. It feels like it. Liam. You ended the relationship. I know. Then, what exactly did you expect? Silence. Long silence. Finally, I thought we'd still be close. We are friends. No, he said quietly. Not like this. I leaned back. For the first time, I saw genuine confusion in his face. Not manipulation. Not strategy. Confusion. As if he truly couldn't understand why friendship felt so different from a relationship, and maybe he couldn't. Maybe he'd never learn the difference. When the conversation ended, we walked outside together. The autumn air felt cool against my skin. Liam hesitated near the curb. Emily. Yeah. Do you ever miss me? The question hung between us. Honest. Dangerous. Too late. I looked at him carefully, then answered, I miss who I thought you were. His face fell. I got into my car and drove away. What I didn't know then was that Liam's carefully constructed plan was already starting to collapse. Because while he was realizing friendship wasn't enough, someone else was beginning to notice me. Someone who had been quietly watching the entire situation unfold. Someone who would soon change everything. Ryan. And neither Liam nor I had any idea how dramatically that single connection was about to alter all of our lives. Looking back, there were probably signs that Ryan liked me before I noticed them. Not obvious signs. Nothing inappropriate. Nothing that crossed boundaries while Liam and I were together. But after the breakup, little things started standing out. The way he checked in occasionally, the way he listened when I spoke, instead of waiting for his turn to talk, the way he never treated my pain like an inconvenience. Most importantly, he never treated me like a backup plan. About a week after the coffee meeting with Liam, I was finishing work when my phone buzzed. Ryan. Ryan, random, question. Me. Those are usually the dangerous ones. Ryan, I have an extra ticket to a comedy show Saturday. Interested. I stared at the message longer than I should have. Not because I didn't know the answer. Because I knew exactly what the invitation meant. It wasn't a group outing. It wasn't a friendly gathering. It was a date. A real date. Simple. Direct. Honest. No games. No hidden agenda. No emotional safety nets. Just a man asking a woman if she'd like to spend time with him. My heart beat a little faster. May I'd love to. Ryan, great. I'll pick you up at 7. I smiled before I could stop myself. Then another message appeared. Ryan, one thing. Me. What's that? Ryan, Liam isn't going to handle this well. The smile faded slightly. Because he was right. I knew he was right. Me, I know. Ryan, still interested. I looked at the screen for several seconds, then typed, me, absolutely. Ryan, good. For the first time in months, I felt excited about something. Not hopeful, not cautiously optimistic. Actually excited. Which should have been my first clue that I was finally healing. Apparently, Liam noticed too. The explosion came 48 hours later, Friday evening. My phone started vibrating nonstop. One call, then another, then another. By the time I looked, Liam had called 8 times. A text arrived immediately afterward. Liam, are you serious? Me, about what? Liam, Ryan. Isaiah. Someone had told him, or Ryan had. Honestly, it didn't matter. Me. What about Ryan? Liam, you're going on a date with him. May, yes. Liam, you can't do that. I actually laughed out loud. Me, why not? Liam called immediately, against my better judgment. I answered, Emily. His voice sounded strained, almost desperate. You can't date my best friend. Interesting. What? You broke up with me. That's not the point. It seems pretty relevant. Ryan is my best friend. And you know what that means. No, I said calmly. I really don't. Silence. Then, it's a line you don't cross. I leaned back against my couch. What line? You don't date your ex's best friend. Friends don't control who their friends date. His breathing sharpened. That's not fair. There it is again. What? The part where different rules magically apply when they benefit you. He didn't answer, because he couldn't. Everything he was saying boiled down to one uncomfortable truth. He wanted freedom for himself and restrictions for me. Eventually he hung up. I assumed that would be the end of it. I was wrong. Very wrong. Saturday night arrived. Ryan picked me up exactly at 7. No games. No last-minute cancellations. No emotional drama. Just punctuality. The date itself was wonderful. Almost suspiciously wonderful. The comedian was hilarious. The food afterward was great. The conversation flowed effortlessly. We talked about family, careers, travel, childhood embarrassments, dreams, fears. Everything except Liam. At least until the end. We were walking toward my apartment when Ryan finally brought him up. Liam called me 17 times today. I groaned. 17. 18. Actually, sorry. Ryan shook his head. Not your fault. We reached the entrance to my building. For a moment, neither of us moved. Then, Ryan looked at me. Can I tell you something? Sure. He said, keeping you as a friend was supposed to be temporary. A cold feeling settled in my stomach. What does that mean? Ryan hesitated. Ben Saihu. He thought you'd wait. The words hit harder than I expected. Maybe because they confirmed every suspicion I'd been trying not to believe. Ryan continued. He literally told me that if dating around didn't work out, he figured you two would eventually get back together. I stared at him. Seriously. Ryan nodded. He said you were the safest thing in his life. Safe. Not loved. Not cherished. Safe. A backup plan. An insurance policy. A place to return if better options failed. The realization hurt, even now, especially now. Ryan's expression softened. You deserved better than that. Something shifted inside me. Not dramatically. Not all at once. Just enough. Enough to let go of the final thread still connecting me to the version of Liam I thought existed. I stepped closer. Ryan met me halfway. The kiss was brief, gentle, uncomplicated. Exactly what a first kiss should be. When we finally pulled apart, both of us smiled. No drama, Ryan said. No drama. I agreed. Neither of us knew how wrong we were. Sunday morning. 6:03 a.m. Bang, bang, bang. The pounding on my apartment door jerked me awake. For a second, I thought something terrible had happened. A fire, an emergency, a family crisis. Then I heard the voice. Emily. I closed my eyes. Liam. Of course, I dragged myself out of bed and walked to the door. Go home? No. You're waking the entire building. I know you're in there. Congratulations. More pounding. We need to talk. About what? You kissed him. I laughed, despite myself. There was a long silence outside. Then, you kissed Ryan. I opened the door, mostly because I didn't want my neighbors calling security. Liam stood there looking awful. His hair was messy. His eyes were bloodshot. He looked like he hadn't slept. Part of me felt sorry for him. A very small part. You're doing this to hurt me. There it was, the center of his entire worldview. Everything revolved around him. Every decision, every consequence, every emotion. You think my life is about hurting you. You started dating my best friend. We went on one date. You kissed him. You dumped me. His face tightened. I said we should be friends. And now we're friends. No? His voice cracked. Not like this. For a moment, genuine pain flashed across his face. And I finally understood something. Liam never expected consequences. He expected discomfort, maybe sadness, maybe awkwardness, but not consequences. Certainly not replacement. The possibility that I could genuinely move on had never occurred to him. Emily. Please. The desperation surprised me. Please don't do this. I looked at him quietly, then asked the question that changed everything. Do what? He opened his mouth, stopped. Because he couldn't say it. He couldn't say, don't move on. Don't be happy. Don't find someone else. Wait for me. Instead, he whispered, Ryan was supposed to be my friend. I nodded. And I'm supposed to be your friend. His face fell. The irony finally reached him. Only for a second. But it reached him. Then anger replaced understanding. You've both betrayed me. No. I shook my head. You betrayed your own expectations. He stared at me, unable to answer. Eventually, he left. I thought maybe that confrontation would finally force reality into focus. Instead, it became the beginning of something worse. Because once Liam realized guilt wasn't working, he switched tactics. And that's when the lies started. The lies started quietly. At first, they sounded almost believable. That's what makes manipulation dangerous. Nobody begins with something outrageous. They begin with a version of the truth that feels close enough to reality to survive casual scrutiny. A few days after Liam's early morning meltdown, Max called me. Quick question. That's usually a bad sign. Probably. His voice sounded uncomfortable. Liam's telling people you're dating Ryan to get revenge. I leaned back in my chair. Of course he was. Did he mention he ended the relationship? No. Did he mention he wanted to keep me around as a backup plan while he figured himself out? No. Interesting. Mexihil. That's what I figured. The problem for Liam was that most people knew me, and, more importantly, they knew him. The longer he talked, the more obvious the inconsistencies became. Some friends initially sympathized with him. Most changed their minds after hearing the full story. Reality has a stubborn way of surviving, especially when the facts are simple. Liam ended the relationship. I respected his decision. I moved on. Everything afterward was a consequence of those choices. Not revenge. Not manipulation. Not strategy. Just consequences. Unfortunately, Liam wasn't finished. One Tuesday morning, my manager called me into her office. The moment I saw her expression, my stomach tightened. Everything okay? I asked. She closed the door. That's what I wanted to ask you. Immediately I knew. Liam called. Didn't he? Her eyebrows lifted. So that's his name. I rubbed my forehead. What exactly did he say? My manager looked uncomfortable. He claimed he was your emergency contact. I closed my eyes. Of course he did. He said you were experiencing emotional instability after a difficult breakup. I laughed. Actually laughed. Not because it was funny. Because it was ridiculous. He suggested you might need extended leave. Now my manager looked concerned. Not about me. About the absurdity of the situation. Emily. Are you okay? I'm perfectly fine. That's what I thought. I explained everything. The breakup. The friendship arrangement. The boundaries. Ryan. All of it. By the end of the conversation, my manager was shaking her head. He sounds desperate. That was probably the kindest description available. Human Resources documented the incident. A formal note was added. A paper trail began. Meanwhile, Ryan remained remarkably calm, which only made Liam angrier. One evening, I showed Ryan screenshots of several messages. He read them silently. Then, handed my phone back. You okay? I'm annoyed. Not hurt. I considered it. No. And that surprised me. Because only a month earlier, Liam's approval had mattered tremendously. Now, his opinion barely registered. Healing is strange that way. One day you're drowning. The next day you realize you've been standing in shallow water for weeks. The next escalation arrived around 2 o'clock in the morning. My phone buzzed on the nightstand. Then again, half asleep. I grabbed it. Liam. A single text. We need to talk. I ignored it. 30 seconds later. I'm late. I stared at the message. Completely awake now. Late. My first thought was exactly what he wanted. Shock, panic, fear. Then common sense arrived. Late for what? His answer came immediately. No. I didn't know. So I asked, late for what? 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Returned. Then, pregnant. I sat upright. Pregnant. For several seconds, I simply stared. Then I remembered something important. Liam was a man, which made the message impossible. And that's when I realized he had copied a story he'd seen somewhere online and fired it off in a moment of emotional desperation without even thinking. A minute later, another message arrived. Wrong text. Then another. Forget it. I stared at the screen, then burst out laughing. The next morning, I showed Ryan. He laughed so hard, he nearly spilled his coffee. That's the dumbest manipulation attempt I've ever seen. Right. Does he even read what he sends? Apparently not. But the failed text revealed something important. Liam was running out of options. And desperate people become unpredictable. Around that time, another issue surfaced. Money. When Liam moved out, he apparently assumed certain things would continue. The apartment, utilities, shared subscriptions, conveniences, safety nets. The same pattern repeated. He expected the relationship benefits to survive the relationship. When reality disagreed, he became furious. His mother even called me Emily. The disappointment in her voice arrived before the greeting finished. Isaiah. Here we go. Hello. Mrs. Parker. Why did you remove Liam from the phone plan? Because we're not dating. Instead, I chose diplomacy. He needs his own account now. He's struggling. He ended the relationship. He made a mistake. There it was. The sentence everyone eventually reaches. He made a mistake. Maybe. But mistakes don't become obligations for other people. I wish him well. I said carefully. But we're no longer together. Her disappointment quickly became frustration. Then anger. Then the call ended. A week later, the situation finally exploded. Ryan called me during lunch. His voice sounded different, tighter, controlled, which was somehow more alarming than panic. What happened? Silence. Then, Liam showed up. My stomach dropped. Where? My office. I immediately stood. What did he do? He caused a scene. The details emerged slowly. Liam had arrived unexpectedly, demanded to speak with Ryan, accused him of stealing his life, accused him of stealing me, accused him of betraying years of friendship. Security eventually intervened. Employees watched. Managers got involved. The entire thing became public. By the time Ryan finished explaining, I was furious. Not because of embarrassment, because Liam had crossed a line again. And this time, he dragged Ryan's career into it. That evening, we met at my apartment. Ryan looked exhausted. I'm sorry. He shook his head. You didn't do this. I know. But guilt still lingered. Ryan sat beside me. For several moments, neither of us spoke. Then he quietly said, I think we need legal protection. The words hung in the room, heavy, necessary, real, a restraining order. A month earlier, the idea would have sounded absurd. Now it sounded reasonable, maybe inevitable. So we filed. The evidence wasn't difficult to gather. Message. calls, workplace incidents, witness statements, documentation. The hearing was brief. The outcome was clear. The order was granted, and for the first time since the breakup, reality finally reached Liam. Not emotionally, legally. Months passed. Mutual friends occasionally provided updates. Liam moved back in with his parents. He lost his job after repeated absences and workplace conflicts. He eventually began therapy, which, honestly, was probably the healthiest development in the entire story. Ryan and I blocked every account, every number, every email, every avenue of contact. Peace slowly returned. Then one final message slipped through. An email. The last one. I read it once. Then, never again. According to Liam, I had ruined his life, stolen his best friend, turned everyone against him, destroyed his future, manipulated the situation. One. The word appeared 3 separate times. One, as if relationships were competitions, as if healing was a trophy, as if moving on meant defeating someone. I never responded. There was nothing left to say. Because the truth was painfully simple. I didn't orchestrate Liam's downfall. I didn't convince him to break up with me. I didn't force him to treat me like a backup plan. I didn't make him harass workplaces. I didn't make him spread lies. I didn't make him ignore boundaries. The only thing I did was take him seriously. When he said he wanted friendship, I believed him. I gave him friendship. Nothing more. Nothing less. And that turned out to be the one thing he never expected. Today Ryan and I are still together. The relationship is healthy, peaceful, honest. There's no guessing. No emotional chess matches. No backup plans. No one waiting on the bench while the other explores alternatives. Sometimes we laugh about how everything started. Mostly we just enjoy what we have. A relationship built on choice rather than convenience. If I learned anything from the experience, it's this. When someone asks to be friends after ending a serious relationship, listen carefully. Not to what they hope you'll do, to what they're actually saying. Then treat them exactly like a friend, respectfully, kindly, with boundaries. Real friends want you to move forward. They don't ask you to stay suspended in place while they search for something better. Liam wanted the safety of my devotion without the responsibility of commitment. He wanted access without accountability, comfort without sacrifice. When I stopped offering those things, reality arrived. And reality felt cruel only because it contradicted the fantasy he had built. The irony is that I never set out to teach him a lesson. I simply accepted the role he offered. Friend. Nothing more, nothing less. For Liam, that felt like betrayal. For me, it was exactly what he asked for.